I'm Trek with 2Ks.
There we go. Bet. See, I remember this time. Hola, hola, buenos dias, buenos noches, GNGs. My name is Trek with 2Ks, and this is Trek with 2Ks Live, aka Weekend Crypto. Um, yeah. So if you don't know, for where I'm at now, it's the whole thing of basically I like stick my head into Twitter and then I see what things catch my attention and then I come on Monday evening, Monday night, and then I talk about it. Um there's a couple of things that caught my attention, and granted, it's not all of like the most news things, like I guess to say newsworthy things. Again, this is just the things that catch my attention, right? Um because at this point I'm just kind of done with X amount of the even crypto news that comes out and how much of a pump that stuff is. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Also, I'm trying to put this tweet out on Twitter, aka X. Yo, when did they start limiting how much? This goes to show how often I get on X now, as it is. When did they start limiting how often you can hey, what's going on, Yosef? How often you can, what is it, either reshare or like quote a post? Because just now I had it happen to me twice, and it was like, oh, you need to add in a number, and I'm like, but I already had a number in, so why am I reconfirming a number that I already had in? I don't get this, but whatever, 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 whatever. And what else I want to throw out there? What did it say? Shout outs to some of the crypto folks as far as the content cousins, from Aaron to even Wendy O, because I seen a post that she did that I'm going to talk about. Shout outs to Crypto Blood. I ain't speak to that man in a little bit, but I see he's still out here doing his thing. Definitely shout outs to King. Shout outs to the Stat Bros. I ain't see y'all in a minute neither. Black Rue, I see you still doing your thing, bro. Big ups to you too. Jump Out Girls, I'm loving what y'all are doing with the clips. Definitely shout outs to y'all. Y'all still pushing. Um, um things on. Yeah, so definitely shout outs to all of the crypto cousins out there. Sorry, the content cousins who are doing their thing and still putting stuff out in the space. So yeah, let me see if it'll let me do this post now. So either you can't do nope, yeah, it literally will not let me do this post until I add a number, it's saying, and then when I try to add the number, it doesn't let me add or re-verify the number that I had on there. That's wild. Yeah, again, it just goes to show how long I have not really been on Twitter like that. But nonetheless, we got some things to jump into. So, which one am I going to start with first? All right. So, first one is going to be Wendy O's joint. So, apparently, Solana has a new commercial that how do I say this? Like, at first I wasn't sure what the commercial was pushing. Honestly, I didn't understand what the commercial was pushing. But it sounds like it's pushing a event that they have coming up. If you haven't seen it, I imagine that it's on their website. I imagine that, you know, a bunch of other people besides Wendy O had tweeted it on Twitter. And it's basically a guy in a psychiatrist's office, and he's telling her about like this feeling he has about doing innovation. And then she's like side distracting him with like these DEI comments that's just like where he said, I was getting canceled for saying 2 + 2 was 4. And this is like, wait, what? And she's like, well, no, you know, no, she didn't say no. Hold on. Let me try to figure out how to actually add this in if I could. I want to figure out how to. Is this the one? This is not the one. How do I end up sharing this? Rotation. Where are you at? Okay, bet. Show me the money. All right. And it's going to go big for me. Yeah, there we go. So also include audio. That. All right. So this is the video.
So America, what's going on?
Well, lately, I've been having thoughts again.
What thoughts?
About innovation. You know, multiplanetary travel, nuclear energy, crypto, AI. You know, things that push the limits of human potential.
What you're experiencing is called rational thinking syndrome. Why don't we take this energy and channel it into something more productive, like coming up with a new gender?
But that's not gonna stop me thinking about innovating and doing something.
Innovating, doing, these are action words, verbs. Why don't we focus on pronouns?
That's not gonna help.
I sense some cynicism. Have you been betrayed in the past?
You know, I used to think the media was my friend. Can I even trust them anymore?
Of course.
Of course they'd say that. That's a biased take.
Wait for it.
I got canceled for saying 2 + 2 is 4.
Have you ever considered that math is a spectrum?
What?
Imagine
America,
that.
Numbers are non-binary. We've been conditioned to believe that 2 + 2 is 4. It's a societal construct.
It's literally math.
Or is it a dominant narrative? Have you been practicing the state-prescribed regulations we talked about?
Yeah, I've debanked some crypto founders and I've slowed down nuclear reactor approvals, and depending on my state of mind, I change the SEC guidelines, but I don't like it.
If we don't regulate, how will we create jobs for people who work hard to make businesses slow?
You know what?
Let that sink in.
Hard work, innovation, rational thinking, it's in my blood. It's who I am. Railroads, factories, automobiles. I built the future once, and I won't be left behind now. I will lead the world in permissionless tech, build on-chain, and reclaim my place as the beacon of innovation. I want to invent technologies, not genders.
Lovely. So glad you were able to get some of that negative emotion out. Sounds like we'll need a few more sessions. When can I see you next?
You're fired.
All right, so we're at the end of it. I don't know who they paid for this. All right, there you have it. So all of that was for a event they have coming up. Here's for those of us who've been in this space for a minute, if you listen to the guy who represents America and what he's saying about innovation, about permissionlessness, about being the leader in this technology thing, like it, like, oh my God. You have a company that built a blockchain adjacent technology that has its own type of cryptocurrencies and smart contract things on there. And in the early beginning, and let's not forget, this is not like I'm talking you know, 2016 or something. I'm literally just talking like early part of C19, early part of the COVID stuff. They were shutting off the chain. And this is the company that's trying I don't know how much they paid for this. I'm probably 50-50 on actually trying to dig in on who did this commercial. But I just want to remind y'all, if you're new to this space, and if you read the comments on the tweet that Wendy O put out, and this is not me throwing any shade at Wendy O. Like, I need y'all to be clear on, I'm not throwing shade at Wendy O. I'm throwing shade at Solana 100%. I'm not smudging. I'm 100% judging. This is the same company that shut off its blockchain, quote, multiple times in 1 year because they were having issues and they was getting caught slipping by some of the hacker folks. Like, and then they're going to turn around and make this commercial to be like, yeah, we're leading innovation. We're about permissionlessness. We're about decentralization. Are you mad? Like, and like I said, when you read the comments, and I imagine other people posted this today, or whenever it originally dropped. I don't know if it dropped today, but they're not. How do I say this? Like, in my mind, in my mind, for how I understand how businesses operate in the American environment, in the modern business world, and for how technology has developed over. And when I say technology, I'm talking about like from the digital stuff. We have the ability to develop systems that can have more privacy hard baked into it. We have technology that can have more pseudo-anonymousness to it. We have technology that can, as far as the financial side, the identity side goes, digital identity stuff, we have building stacks that can work to where it isn't as intrusive as it is. But the doctrine behind what is being built is not pro any of those things. They're not pro privacy. They're not pro digital sovereignty. They're not pro individualism in terms of like the actual person having their digital right or sovereignty to say, no, I don't want to share this, right? They're pro Big Brother. They're pro track and trace. They're pro we need and must have all of the granular. I'm saying the word wrong. My bad, y'all. Information about how you move around in this digital space, whether it be from the smart devices you wear, your smartphone, as well as the financial side of it. This is the direction that the industry, not just within the US, but on the global stage, is going, right? And so when you have companies like this then turn around and it's so ironic that they use the thing of like, it's a dominant narrative. Like, nah, 2 + 2 is 4. That math doesn't change. The only time you get into where you have like margins of error of like a -2 or a +2 is when you get into higher functioning math, when you get into like engineering and like physics and stuff like that. But that's not hard math, right? So here you have the other part of like, I want to do and I want to build. All right, but what you're building doesn't go towards digital sovereignty. What you're building isn't going towards just a simple thing of sovereignty. It goes towards the pro, like Big Brother, pro KYC, pro AML, all that fun stuff, right? I don't know, y'all. Like, when I seen it and I didn't know where the commercial was going, right? The guy represents America. If you're paying attention to any of the technology stuff that's going on right now, we're not leading the way like folks would like to have you think in the mainstream news. But then again, as I've been saying to y'all for like how long, there's the things that I pay attention to. I try to cross-reference some of the things in some kind of crypto relation, but sometimes it's just stuff that's really far outside of crypto for me to like try to throw it in there to be like, oh yeah, it can mean this on the crypto side. Because some of the stuff is just not crypto related. Like there's things I'm paying attention to now for some aircraft detection stuff that China's doing that's like blowing us out the water. It's not crypto though, so I don't bring that up, right? Nonetheless, this one definitely has me like, wow, and folks are going to be all like, oh wow, that's great. Like, oh yeah, you know, that means that Solana is gonna do something. And then mind you, they told you flat out, the what you call it, the Wall Street's gonna be there, Congress folks is gonna be there, and industry folks are gonna be there, right? So all of those people have in common that they're about regulation, they are about control. They're not about willy-nilliness, or they're not about decentralization. They're not about permissionless. Like that's not what that environment is made to endorse or build, right? Or promote. That's another part of it. So I will hope that some people don't get lost in that or caught up in it, but you know, I mean, it is what it is. And like for what's happening right now in the world, like who, I don't know, I don't want to say who's paying attention, but more like it's kind of other more higher priority things, I guess, to say. That's how I'll leave that one. And let's see if can I segue that one into that? No, not that. So you know what? I'm gonna segue into this one. So Caitlin Long, she's one of the people I follow on Twitter because like she be having her moments where she'll throw some stuff out there, and I'm like, oh snap! Like I didn't know that was happening, or like, huh, that's an interesting point to look at. But as I can give praise, I can smudge. I can judge. Okay. As I can give praise, I can smudge and judge. And this is going to be one of those moments where I'm going to smudge, border on judge. So there is a post that came out from Cynthia Lummis. If you don't know, she is the senator for Wyoming. I've been saying for years now, I'm not a fan of her. Ever since I heard her on what's his name, when he had the podcast in the beginning of COVID, and he's totally done a 180 right now. He's playing the game right now. Nonetheless, she did a post on Twitter, and it basically, let me see if I can get into her actual post. Okay. So the post reads, hold on, let me make sure some of these comments ain't crazy. Nope, she ain't really even get that much off of the that's interesting. All right, so what I'm noting here is okay, so she did. So it's a 2-part post. Okay, I didn't realize that. Regulatory fairness. Okay, bam. Now that I actually see that this is a 2-part post, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna share this one too, and I'll read along. And I was literally listening to an interview today that just added into why I'm not a fan of her, because of how she's being touted as like pro Bitcoin and crypto friendly senator and blah 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 blah, but she's still does and says other things that just are like, but she's still pro all of the things I just said that Solana is. And it sounds like she's cool on the front, but when you dig into some of the details, it's like, oh, so you just doing the same old stuff. I mean, you know, it isn't like she just got into Congress and she hasn't established herself. Like, she's established herself for sure. She's been playing the game for a minute and leading on some things. But let me get into this. All right, hold on. Let me throw this up here. That's the one. Nope, not that one. Nope. Where did it go? Okay, here you are. Okay, so nope. Here we go. So, congratulations to Mickey Bowman on her nomination to serve as vice chair of supervision for the Federal Reserve. And I got another one that this leads to too, but okay. The Treasury, okay, this is the Federal Reserve. This is a welcome shift towards restoring regulatory fairness, transparency, and staff accountability at the Fed. Like, this sounds like a very great, encouraging tweet. Oh, you know what? So somewhere along the line, she gets into another thing where she basically is giving this lady her acumen again, and she's like, she understands that regulation rooted in objective and sound policy rather than arbitrary and ideological priorities will foster a stronger financial future for this nation. She also understands the critical role of state banks and responsible financial innovation. Now, that isn't really what gets me per se, because this is her giving her accolades to someone else who's gotten into a new position. That's cool. Where are you? Hold on. Sorry, I got multiple monitors, so I gotta find where my cursor went. All right, so bet. So now Caitlin says, rather than arbitrary or ideological priorities. That part, right? So today I was listening to a podcast from what you call them? Sirius Radio. Is it Sirius? The Sirius Report. Two folks that I've been paying attention to for a minute who talk more geopolitical financial stuff. And one of the guys that they interviewed today was talking about how Loomis is promoting or pushing a crypto bill that in the fine print, there's a part on it that talks about reevaluating precious metals, right? And y'all know I don't do the price talk stuff, but this goes towards this thing about like transparency and like ideological priorities, as she said, right? In my opinion, there's the talking points that she presents to the public, and then there's the things that like get lost in the details and the other parts of things that like she's working to promote. But it gets like, it's like a sandwich, right? Like, everybody sees the bread, everybody sees the meat, right? But if it's like a thin cut of a tomato or a thin slice of cheese, like, depending on how thick the slices of bread are and the meat is, you don't see those things, but it's in there. And that's the part where here's someone talking about transparency, and this is like, yeah, but like, you be doing stuff that's not transparent. Again, I'm throwing a little bit of smudge, border judging. But like I said, I haven't been a fan of her from the beginning when she started making certain appearances and, you know, started grifting over into the space. Again, as I say, I can give praise to Caitlin Long, and I can also throw a little smudge because this is her people's, right? Caitlin Long is out there in Wyoming working on her thing, which is custodial bank. And for what she's trying to do, I'm not saying it's the worst idea. I'm not saying it's the best idea, but I think that there is something to what she's trying to do, because she's been getting roadblocked for years now at this point and getting federally recognized for what she's trying to do with her bank. Again, background wise, she's a Wall Street. She came up in that industry by like profession. But I note that, again, in giving praise, she must be trying to do something that the establishment is not cool with, because she's been getting blocked for years. But I still kind of find it ironic that this is your people's Cynthia Loomis, respectably, Senator Cynthia Loomis. And again, to me, she comes off as a grifter, but she is promoting bills that have layers or details in them that don't make it to light. And so when things come out to make it to pass, that like coming down the road, folks are going to look back and be like, oh wow, but when did that happen, or how did? And it's like, yeah, but like she's been literally moving this way for years now. Y'all just got more focused on the talking points of what she was telling y'all to look at versus actually looking at the bills and like getting into the details past page 10 and then be like, oh, that's what's also going on. That's at least my opinion on it. That's my 2 cents on it, right? Nonetheless, like, y'all don't gotta agree. You might find it that, you think she the greatest thing since sliced bread like Hester Pierce. I don't agree with her neither for how the narrative that has been built around her over the number of years now. I'm not a fan of her either. She might be a cool person one-on-one. Don't get me wrong. She may be a cool person one-on-one. But at the end of the day, she works for a department within the government at the federal level that is meant to regulate the industries that it governs over. You cannot ask the jailer of a prison, hey, how about we get more freedom as prisoners? That's literally not what their job is. Just saying. What was the other one? The other one that kind of caught my attention. Oh, and I got a story. To tell. Like family is something else. My uncle called me the other day, but I'm gonna get to that story in a minute. Another joint that kind of got my attention is another situation where Caitlin Long again posted this. Again, like I'm giving the praise on this side just because I don't know if to say I was wrong about Binance, because I think at one point I was like, yeah, I don't know if I see them making the next 2 years. And lo and behold, here they are now. I do think I remember saying like I saw them like leaving the American market alone, and then they were focusing international. I don't know if it's still the same dude though who took over after CZ. I am so waiting to see what CZ does. Like, if he don't have a book this year, he got to have a book next year. It's just too much things happening now that Trump is trying to be so pro crypto that, like, come on, bro, you got to have some insight on this. But nonetheless, Caitlin Long posts this thing about huge announcement for multiple reasons. So basically, Abu Dhabi MGX backs Binance with a $2 billion investment, which is pretty much like the largest investment, I think, in the global sense that any exchange or crypto related project has had in like a first go. If you don't know, MGX is MGX the person I think it is? Hold on, I gotta look for this now because I am not 100%. I feel like that's his acronym. I think he's the prince for Saudi Arabia. I know I spelled that wrong, but the internet will do what the internet does. How does it go? MGX management. Okay, so I was wrong. It is not the person. MGX is a fund management limited. So yeah, MGX Fund Management Limited is a Emirati state-owned investment firm for artificial intelligence technologies established by the government of Abu Dhabi. And yeah, so it's a fund management firm. It's not the person who I thought it was, which I think is it's something. It's M something. I swear his initials or something like that. But nonetheless, Binance has weathered pulling away from the US. They've weathered the SEC bullwhipping. They've weathered the I don't know what to say, negative blowback from losing CZ, and then this situation happens, which then is like, what is Binance going to look like outside of the US versus how the stateside version is working? Like, and that's going to be a whole nother level of features and functions that folks outside of the US can do that we can't do here in the States, unless you got dual citizenship or something, or like some residency thing going on. I don't know if to call this like a kudos to Binance, but yeah, you know what? Better yet. It is. It's a kudos to Binance. Now, if Binance got this, and I don't know how, I can't even imagine how long they were like probably trying to work on this deal. Minimum 6 months, minimum. What other exchange? Damn, yo, I haven't been on an exchange so long. Somebody could tell me, hey, what's going on? Will, if somebody could tell me, because I'll be honest, I haven't been on an exchange, like any DeFi exchange, like real DeFi exchange, CeFi exchange, none of it. I haven't been on none of them in a good minute, like a minute. I'm telling you, it's been a while, right? And so I look at it now, and it's just like, who's the baller? Who's the top five? And then the other part of, because of how the SEC has basically bullied the crypto related companies in the American space, like, do we really count the companies that are still domiciled here as being global players? And here's why I throw this out there as a question. Because most folks for the American market would be, if they're aware of crypto and stuff like that, they'd be like, oh yeah, Coinbase, right? But Coinbase has what, 1 million plus, maybe 2 million people. I think majority of those are actually American based. Hey, what's going on, Keyshawn? Shalom, man. So like, it was something I was listening to the other day, and they were talking about how China is looking to promote more local consumerism, basically, in the local market. Means they're working on plans to get their people to buy more stuff, right? And so they have over 1 billion people. And if I understand it right, like, they're not even near full capacity of people spending and using the financial instruments and stuff. If the American market, or the policies that we had during the previous administration, not governed, I'm trying to figure out how to word this exactly. Like, the previous administration had it or promoted where it wanted to codify or throttle the crypto space within our borders, figuratively speaking, because the way we work is like if it touches an American citizen, we get to call some kind of rule and jurisdiction on it. That's how American government works, right? And with that, you have it that even though population wise, like we don't make up that much of the global population at all, but yet because of how our economy works with the supplement of financial debt instruments, because we spend in that manner, we don't spend off of hard currency, we spend off of derivative financial debt instruments, right? We were seen as like the, if you have a business and you want to make money, that's the place to go. But we turned around, and this is like bigger than crypto. This is 100% bigger than crypto in regards to what I'm saying. But I'm bringing it into the crypto thing as far as exchanges are concerned, because we'll tout all day about how, you know, big Coinbase is and how Coinbase is like leading the way in the American market. I'm assuming, because I haven't touched Coinbase in probably like 5 years, if not longer. Okay. And then, like I said, like we're on this whole kick now about how we're gonna have this Bitcoin what is it? The Bitcoin, damn, what's the it's not the Federal Reserve thing, but it's like the Bitcoin I cannot remember the damn phrase right now, which even in that is not even going to be 100% Bitcoin. And then I heard some other craziness today about how they might go about acquiring the Bitcoin. That is, I don't want to throw that one out there because I still have to make sure I understand it correctly. But this is what this administration is now saying, which is almost like, well, no, it is. It is a 180 from the previous administration. And I literally heard the comment today of how we are still in a Biden economy and we may not see a Trump economy for at least another year or two. And the reason behind that is it takes time for the policies that they're coming up with to be enforced. And then you have to look at what actually happens in the economy. Like you have to actually get the numbers to be like, oh, well, we saw a rise in spending over here, or we saw a reduction in spending in whatever other market, right? Or we saw like crazy market fluctuations, and we don't know. Well, not we don't know, but we are assuming that they're based on what this administration has done. Thank you. Strategic reserve. Thank you. So, is that, yeah. So that's the other thing. Like I've heard that that's going to be split up, but the point of what I was saying about like Binance, Binance got the message. They went outside of the U.S. Tether got the message. They are kicking butt outside of the U.S. Right. As far as like the business deals that they're doing to be in Eastern Europe and certain parts of like the Eurasian areas or governments, right? But yet we're still over here touting we're number one, we're top dog. And King might like laugh at me or be on some like, hey, what's going on? Trust truth. As far as like knowing the whole gang thing, right? Like it's always a gang home team, but it's just like, like, bro, the ship ain't looking too sturdy in the long run. And there are things that are being developed outside of like I said, like beyond the crypto space, that we're not number 1, 2, or 3 in, or at least we not in the one, we not in the one spot, right? So yeah, like, and looking at how this administration is trying to change our position, is it too late? Like, again, China already has over 1 billion people, and they're working policies to encourage local market purchasing and like local their financial setup as far as like same thing, debt instruments. It's still the same thing, but their people save more. Their people don't frivolously spend um, um, in debt instruments the way we do here in the West, the way we do here in America, in particular. Like at one point back in the day, I was doing DoorDash, and the things that people would order blew my mind. I remember one time I did an order where this lady ordered a coffee. The coffee shop was maybe 3 blocks, 3-ish, 4 blocks the short way from where she was. Hey, what's going on, Only Bitcoin? She was at like a bar lounge place and ordered coffee from a place that was 3 or 4 blocks away. And it was like 3 times the price for the delivery. I remember I would see people order food like you right across the street. What? Listen, I don't want to get down that rabbit hole too much, but nonetheless, the point being is a kudos to Binance. I'm curious to see how this plays out. Yo, shout outs to I don't know if anybody else follow him. My guy Tej, man. We met up a while ago. This is like back in 21 when like I think all of us was down in Florida at that point. I forgot what conference was going on. I think it was like the Bitcoin conference or something like that. So like, King down there, Zay down there, like, and we met up with a bunch of other people. And Tej, I still follow his stuff here and there. Your boy posting a picture, he getting the spot out in the Emirates right now. And I said, okay, I see it. I know a couple people making that move right now where they are getting real estate out in the sandbox. Like I got a homeboy who but the point being is like folks is making moves. And I'm gonna just say it's not just it's X amount more folks that I know now who look like me who are making those moves. I'll leave that there. But shout outs to that guy, him and his wifey doing their thing out there, enjoying life. What was the other one? Yeah, so I was saying, like, big ups to Binance for cutting America loose and then, making their deals out in other places. I wonder who will be the next to follow as far as getting something in either. I'm still waiting to have this conversation with my homeboy who was out in Hong Kong the other day. And I told y'all I think that the situation where Hong Kong is real interesting because it's being set up as like a sandbox where like it's still the CCP thing, but like it still has this openness to a bunch of Western and European players, and the money's moving. Like the lifestyle is different. Yeah, there's a cultural nuances and all that to it, but when I catch up with him, I think that might be a recorded thing. I don't know if I'm gonna end up doing that one live. I'm still trying to weigh that one out, but that one will come up soon, and it might end up being like in the middle of the week or something like that. I'm not certain yet how I'm gonna do that one. Oh, random thought. I'm gonna throw this one out there. I was thinking about it, and it hit me the other day about going back to doing interviews. I was really thinking about it. Like, for those who don't know, like before I got with King and Zay, and like even before Crypto Blood and them, That is literally how I started this whole thing off. I was going to different meetups in different cities in different states, and I was talking to people and I was recording it, and then I would do stuff on here. Like this is like 2014, 2015. Yeah, like it's been a while. But I was thinking about that the other day. I might start jumping back into that because I'm curious, like for the folks that I know from back then, and then to see where things are now, how they're looking at this space, how they have for what they've worked on or are working on, where are they now? Kind of one of those things, as well as just like talking to the newer folks in the space. And it's like, all right, so like, how are you seeing this? Like, what did you like? What drew you to it? All of that stuff. But another thing to ponder about, and then hopefully I flush something out and have something more concrete to give y'all as far as content goes. I don't know just yet, though. But let me read this question that Truth said. Okay, so I do not remember the name of that. Hopefully somebody else might remember the name of this. Trust Truth said, question, what? Wait, matter of fact, let me just do this. Yeah, so everybody else could see it over a year ago. I don't remember the name of it, honestly. Facts. Many countries, Yusuf, you're right. Many countries do not do that. Yosef, sorry. Yosef, not Yusuf. My bad. But yeah, hopefully somebody else remembers it, because I'll be honest, I do not. If you do, drop the name of it. What was the other thing I was going for? So it was the Caitlin Long joint. It was what's her name? The Binance joint. What's the other one? Oh, all right. So Twitter be funny as hell. There's another joint that had me cracking up. It was all right. There is a video. I don't know if Ted Cruz has a podcast or something. So all right. So I don't I don't know if Ted Cruz has a actual podcast. If you don't know, Ted Cruz is a Congress member. I'm like, do I play this one? Hold on. How long is this? I think I could play this one because it's definitely shorter than the other one. The bottom line is it's Ted Cruz, some other guy that I don't know, and then Elon Musk. Elon Musk basically throws out like, hey, the U.S. Treasury has magic money computers, right? And so if you've been paying attention to Twitter, you've probably been seeing X number of the memes about Money Go Burr with the oh god, I can't remember the name for the character, but like he has the little money machine doing this thing, and that's what's been generating that. It's the interview of Elon Musk with Ted Cruz, and then him saying what he said. Now, when I first seen the video, it was Eric Voorhees' post that I seen about it, and he was like, well, imagine when he finds out that every bank has this, and this is how money's put into the system when you go for a loan. I'm really surmising what he said, but it was along that lines. So everyone's just like, but does he understand, like, it's not just them doing it? What really made me crack up was when I was scrolling through, I seen a post from Uphold retweeting the same video clip. Now, here's why it's hilarious to me. All right. Pardon me, man. My nose is bothering the mess out of me right now. I don't know what is getting me, but anywho, I'm not smudging. I'm 100% judging. 100% judging. All right. So if you don't know, right, Uphold was the original wallet, crypto wallet for Brave, right? And it was a whole thing back in the day of how Brave didn't want to deal with holding their own crypto. So they were like, hey, we don't want to deal with no KYC business. We don't want to deal with any of the regulatory stuff. We're just going to push it off to some other wallet and somebody who's like established and blah, blah, blah. And so you have that turn into the deal with Uphold. And if you don't know about Brave, that's the whole thing with the Brave browser, and then, like, you get the credit stuff for, or you get the Brave token for like how much basically eyeball time you are on Brave with certain sites and stuff like that, right? And so it has the wallet, and then it like goes over into the Uphold thing. Uphold was 100% KYC, know your business, tell on you to the IRS. Okay. Uphold is 100% pro Big Brother, 100% pro centralization, right? They're not economic sovereignty folks. They're not that at all. And so I see the post and it goes, funny how the tables have turned. What's the magic money now? And I said, ooh, y'all out here taking shots. Now, granted, it's a very valid point. Don't get me wrong. It's a valid point. You had these the senators, you had the governors, you had the police people, you had law enforcement on the federal level, you had local law enforcement. All these people, oh, this crypto stuff is fake, it's magic money, it's blah blah blah. Mind you, this is the early days of when we were proof of work. This is when we were like still hey, what's going on? I was just talking about y'all earlier. I'm loving the clips. Jump out, girls. But to this thing, right? So the early days of when we was like, Bitcoin hasn't changed out of proof of work, right? Litecoin hasn't changed out of proof of work, but damn near everyone else has moved on to some other form of consensus mechanism, right? That has from a decentralization standpoint, as far as the technology, as well as the ability for the company behind that blockchain technology or law enforcement to have influence within how that chain operates, meaning it can be turned off, aka Solana. It could have it where transactions are frozen, aka Tether. It could have things where transactions are reversed. Like all of these things for everything that goes past proof of work, all of these blockchains have those functions and features, right? Uphold is a wallet. Granted, they don't, have their own coin. At least I'm not aware if they have their own coin. I honestly don't know. I remember I used to gripe so much at what's his name from Brave about that. Like even when I seen him in public, I'm like, I love the platform, but like, what the hell, man? Like, why did y'all go down this route? And it was a whole conversation about that. But nonetheless, right? So here again, like, and you have it that these companies that were in the space for so long and they were trying to like tread through the the swamp, right? Between the SEC, the DOJ, the administration, even before the administration, even before the first round of Trump, it was still crazy out here. It was a minefield on the legal front if you were a crypto company trying to operate in the U.S. jurisdiction. I don't wrong them in regards to the trying to operate in the U.S. jurisdiction, but it's just one of those like, so yes, I get the shots that you're taking at Elon, at the Treasury Department, at Ted Cruz. But at the same time, you're still one of the early companies that like arguably ran towards regulation, ran towards KYC, ran towards like, all right, like we gonna give up the books to the IRS. Like, I don't remember hearing no stories on how y'all was fighting back on the IRS or fighting back on law enforcement. That's just, I don't remember hearing none of those stories. At least Coinbase could be like, well, yeah, we put up a fight back in the day, but like eventually we gave it the books. Like, but they at least can say to our credit, even though I think Brian knew they was gonna eventually give up the books, but they can at least say to their credit, they were fighting the issue back in the day. Uphold ran to all of the legal stuff. And so, and I feel like there was a campaign that they had that was about like the whole, like, we're making crypto legitimate. And it's just like, really though? Like, but y'all still tell, like, y'all still, you, for how, again, to the point that I was making earlier, we have the technologies in these different things as far as within the money stuff, within the digital identity stuff, within like the just general of like how computers and stuff can work, for having privacy, like quote, hard coded into the technology stack. But that is not the direction that these tech companies are going in. That's a choice. It's not a oh man, there's no other options. It's a choice. What is going on with these numbers right now? Like, I'm looking at the numbers on my end for what it looks like as far as the viewership thing, and it's really like weird how it's jumping up and down. But anywho, so on one hand, like, it's funny and kudos to Uphold for making that comment, for putting out that post. And granted, it's a number of other people that posted this thing too, right? Again, it's Elon Musk, Ted Cruz, and some other guy. And Elon is like, oh yeah, well, the Treasury has these magic money computers. Again, it I feel like if you've been in the space and you really been digging in on and understanding how we have fiat money in the physical sense, but as far as currency, as far as sovereign currency goes for a country, like at this point, I think most of us who've been in this space understand that the money was already on the digital, press the enter button and put something into the system. I don't know, like, I feel like I understood that for a while, but I could be taking things for granted as far as how other people have dug into understanding the difference between like fiat currency, digital money, cryptocurrency, like how the technology things have developed to where our exchange of value has really only changed the medium. Like the medium meaning fiat was a physical thing, and that's just like one form of an exchange of value. You can go back through history and we have the whole thing about gold, and we have the whole thing about where we had different other things where it might have been salt, it might have been cowrie shells, it might have been stones, it might have been colorful rocks, it could have been all types of stuff, but it was an exchange of value. Now you have it that we are at a point where, because the medium is more easily created, aka type in the number and press enter, and then boom, the money's in the system, it's in circulation because it's digital now. and not in relation to crypto digital, but granted, I think does Tether have a cap? Can somebody tell me if Tether has a cap? Because I honestly don't remember right now. I feel like there's somebody who doesn't have a cap, and or it might be the Ethereum is on that now where they don't have a cap. But nonetheless, he said the secret out loud that everyone knew. The Congress people already knew that. The banking people already knew that. The Wall Street folks already knew that. X number of the crypto people already knew that. The average person who don't even mess with crypto, ain't doing nothing with stocks, like they already got the idea. Why? Because they got to go and get their check direct deposit to the bank because the company they work for doesn't send them the check anymore. They don't give them the pay stub and be like, oh, go cash this out. Like, granted, there's still X number of people who work in those kind of businesses that they'll still get a physical check and they have to go cash it out. But for the most part of how we're working here in the US, I remember the first time. Oh man, this is 20 2006, 2007, 2006. Whole lifetime ago, I used to be a trucker, right? And I remember the company that I was working for, they would do checks. Well, the first company I started working for, they would do checks. And then I remember the next company I went for, they started off doing checks and then they went into direct deposit. But the company that I heard about it first with was JB Hunt or JL Hunt. They're a big trucking company up north. They do like most of Home Depot and like Lowe's and all that stuff, right? And their whole thing was direct deposit. So this is like before 2006. All of their drivers was doing direct deposit. You ain't see no check physical. You just knew that you got paid, and when you looked in your bank account thing, like boom, you knew the money was there. And I think they had an app at that point or something like that, or you had to like log into their website or whatever. The point being is that and I'm gonna segue this into a situation, not a situation, but my uncle. What's going on, crypto? What? Home 777? Thank you for joining. The whole thing of like the medium of money or currency moving into a digital thing was already happening before crypto came along, right? Again, I'm talking about pre 2009, pre 2011. Direct deposit was already a thing, right? And I'm gonna circle this to this story that I was saying about earlier about family stuff, right? My uncle calls me the other day. So he's like, hey, I got a question for you about, this card. And I'm like, what's going on, boss? Like, what do you mean? What? He's like, yeah, so a friend of mine was telling me there's this card and like they're gonna use it in the future and it's gonna be connected to Bitcoin. I said, oh, here we go. Here we go. So now I forgot what the name of the company is, but of course, as far as the card and who's the rails for the card itself is Visa. So you're either going to be Visa or MasterCard. That's the American market. So here we are. He telling me about the card, and I'm just like, yeah, but boss, like, if this is about how things are going to go in the future, like down the road, administration or two down the road, when this quote Bitcoin thing gets more integrated into the financial system, into the economic system that we have, how do you think the card is going to work? Like, do you have to send fiat to the company and then they will buy the Bitcoin for you? Or like, do you connect the card to your bank account, and then when you spend money, it does like what Cash App does, where it rounds up the change to the whole dollar number. He didn't know any of that. And I wasn't surprised that he didn't know any of that, because I know he wasn't going to look into it like that. But I made the point and I said, well, if you're telling me that the point of this thing is about down the road, why not just cut out the middle part and just go buy the crypto yourself? Just go to an ATM. I promise you, there's at least 5 ATMs within an hour drive of you. Within. He's like, oh boy, I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to think, but do you think that the what he said? He said something like, but like, is the digital money gonna be what they make everything? I said, boss, the money's already digital now. Again, we've been doing direct deposit for more than a decade. If anything, all right, I'm trying to think of what I was doing before that. No, before that I wasn't on direct deposit still. But the point being is, direct deposit has been a thing for a while now. I want to say damn near 2 decades, depending on where you worked, what kind of sector you was in. Again, I knew about direct deposit because of trucking. That's how I found out about direct deposit. And this is like 06, 07. The point in regards to this story with my uncle is like, and then the other part that made me laugh, yo, was like, I was already doing all of this back in 2014. Like, I was already spending. Like, I was spending crypto. I was doing the conversion thing. Like, I was already doing all of that 10 years ago. And to have it be that here we are 10 years later, and then they're bringing these things, these products, these financial instruments back out again, it's ironic, and it just makes me laugh. And then at the same time, it annoys me, because the folks who are just getting onto it now are seeing these things as, oh, this is the new future, or this is the thing. Okay, thank you. Wow. Yeah. 1989. Only Bitcoin. Thank you. So definitely more than 20 years at this point, right? So like, and then like the other funky part of it is, these things that are being pushed out now aren't the full accessible versions of what they were back when I was messing around with it. Right. So you're getting the one now. And that was the part that got me. So he was like, yeah, so they say that you don't need like a social security number, and you don't have to put this in. I said, boss, listen to me. I promise you, if you get this card, you will eventually have to give up your social security number. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's a business and they're pro KYC. So you might have a 2-year run of where they're not worried about getting that level of PII on you. But I can almost guarantee that once the user base grows at a certain threshold, they're going to be like, all right, bet. We got to start flipping it over. We got to start making the compliancy things come in. We got to start doing blah, blah, blah. Like, I could almost see it, because that's literally what all the other crypto tech companies did over the last, oh man, something is so messing with me. Sorry, y'all. But that's literally like what they've all done at one point or the other. If they wanted to last, if they wanted to go public, that was the game plan. You start out with the initial incentive. Hey, we don't require X amount of KYC stuff. It's minimal, low-level KYC. Once the user base builds to a certain number, then they start implementing KYC requirements. Then they start pushing more limitations on, oh, well, you can only do this if you give us this information. That's when your what is it? Your daily transactions start having harder enforcement limits on it, and they start asking more questions. And that's literally the game plan for these companies. Because why? The investors want to make sure they're going to get their money's worth out of it before the whole thing is like, all right, this don't make that much money anymore, or the company ain't doing what it was supposed to do. Let's move on to the next thing, and then sell the user base information to some other company. That's it. That's it. Yeah. But I like, and the other funny part about it too was just like, he over here telling me, he's like, yeah, but I think blah, 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 blah. And I said, boss, ain't none of these administrations cared. Like everyone did their part to get us here. And he said something else that had me dying. Like, what did he say? He said something about like the debt. And I think it was either Obama or Clinton, where he was like, yeah, but when such and such was in office, blah, blah, blah. I said, wait. Our debt never went down. We were always owing more than we could pay back because we kept borrowing. And every administration did their part to get us here. It's like, oh, well, I said, you know what? Listen, I don't even know how I let you get me caught up in this conversation right now, but it's good to hear from you. I love you. And like I said, if it's really about Bitcoin as a future thing, you may as well just go and buy the Bitcoin and leave the card alone. Now, will he do it? 9 times out of 10, no. He's not going to do it. I honestly think majority of it was just about talking with me because we haven't talked in a while. But, I appreciate my uncle. I love him. It's just like, yeah, this just had me dying on the, like, we're back to this. We're back to this. Yeah. Anywho, I've rambled on long enough. Yeah, this is definitely enough of a ramble. As I said, I'm debating about this whole thing about getting back into interviews. It's definitely been a while. But yeah, I'm debating about it, and we'll see. Just fitting that in. Like, it's a number of, this is the way the schedule works now. My schedule is definitely not like it used to be when I first started. That's for sure. But yeah. So that's the end of a Monday evening. Caitlin has surplus, like blink, and then okay, wait, what? Hold on, let me hold on. Let's put that one out there. Clinton had a surplus for like a blink of an eye. Yes, everyone touts the whole Clinton surplus time. Charge. Then he was in charge when we welcomed China into the game with open arms. So China, to prove your point, everyone did their part. Yes. Yo, you know what's funny about the China thing? Okay, so I want to say it was, all right, who? So Bush 2 was before Clinton. I don't remember if it was either Bush 2 or if it was under the Clinton administration. But the thing with China and how we started offshoring, there was a part, hey, what's going on? No, thank you. Not the Better Business Bureau. Was it the Better Business Bureau? I can't remember what government department it was, but there was a government agency that literally like gave you here's the how-to guide, how to offshore to China. I so cannot remember whose agency did this, but it was literally here's the how-to if you're like trying to do any type of manufacturing. And this is the early days, right? Before China got to where it is now. This is when it was like they were moving people in droves out of the countryside into the city side, and like the working conditions weren't the most copacetic in the early days. Most people don't know the U.S. government was giving companies like mid-sized companies, corporate companies, mom and pop level companies. The how-tos are how to offshore your business, because that was what the foreign policy was for figuring out how to do, like, let's get the Chinese region to have to be more influenced by American culture, because we couldn't ship the democracy to them because of how the political governing system worked. So the thought process was, well, let's try to penetrate the the social order by penetrating the economic market. And the way of doing that was, it was cheaper to have production in China and ship back to the US. And so with us having X number of the businesses, and like what would come with that, right? You would have the business leaders, the VPs, and all those folks, and like you'd have production managers, and they would start going over there to figure out how to organize and develop the the production process, and they would have to work out the deals. And so that the idea was having this like cultural exchange, but for us to have Americanisms get into the Chinese culture. It didn't work the way they thought it would work. At the end of the day, this is where we are now. China held on to their culturalisms a lot harder than we thought, and they were able to flip the economic system of capitalism within communism with social dynamics. Like, most people don't know, like, the actual official name of China is not just the what is it, Chinese Communist Party. It's just not, it's not that itself. It's actually a longer extension. But anywho, like I said, I be paying attention to a lot of other things, and so my brain be all over the place. Thank y'all. I appreciate, and yeah, I appreciate y'all for jumping in on this one. Heaven knows what I'm gonna talk about next Monday. And I gotta catch up with my guy about the Hong Kong trip and the conference that happened, and like how those conversations went and what that insight was. Cause I don't know if I'll get to do it this year, but I definitely want to go to Hong Kong and see for myself how things was going. No. Okay. So Nixon started the initial thing, yes, but we didn't start doing actual exporting of manufacturing, because initially it was us trying to do with Nixon. Nixon was working out some of the early deals as far as like us doing um the investment stuff, and then we were getting into the whole thing about like the educational exchanges. So you have like the universities and stuff having Chinese students come over. It's a it's not a simple conversation is the point, but Nixon definitely is the father of it. It was just that in the the early 90s, you had more of the policies work around moving the manufacturing and having government agencies slash departments being more encouraging of how the American companies can do it. And they gave the instruction. They gave like, here's the step by step. Yeah, that was us. That was our government. And now here we are. Another thought I had that was mad random. Not it's random now, but I had the thought earlier today. If you ever read about, I believe that's going to be Cap. It's going to be highly redacted, or it's going to be missing pages on that JFK thing. And what does that really do for anybody right now? Like, explain to me what that does for anybody right now on that JFK business. Because I think like most of the people who were even related to that are dead. Anybody who could be held accountable for anything is dead. So what are we really saying? What's the point? So as I was saying about this like economic system, mercantilism, I think is turning into the opposite of Nixon worked with Kissinger. Kissinger was a part of the Nixon administration. Mercantilism being the opposite of capitalism. So real quick, and I'm out. I'm definitely doing this longer than I need to right now. So mercantilism is like, and this is like Europe's big thing on how it got its dominance in natural resources and extracting wealth from its colonies, right? So it's like you go to the place, you find the resources, you extract those raw productive resources, bring them back to your homeland for production, and then turn around and sell them back to where you got the raw resource from for exorbitant prices, right? So now you are making hand over fist capital, right? And so you're extracting from that colony in two ways. One is the natural resource, and two is the monetary gain. Capitalism turns around and says, well, we need to find the most efficient and lowest cost way to produce something. So it's a constant, what do they call it? It's a race to the bottom. I remember I think the first time I heard that was like in the late 90s or the early 2000s. But the idea of, if we can go to a market that has the most lax rules in it as far as production goes, i.e., it's the workers are paid minimal in comparison to what the home country's market is, we'll have those things made there. We can get the raw material from someplace else, but we're extracting the wealth in terms of the labor that is done in the lowest market. And then we're not necessarily worried about selling back to that low market as far as the production part of it, because let's say it cost me $2. iPhone, perfect example. Manufacturing production wise, let's say it costs $5 to make the iPhone. But when I sell the iPhone in other markets outside, or even in that local market of where the production takes place, I'm charging $1,000. So there's an extraction of value that's not equal. And like, that's how capitalism turns around. And it's a weird opposite of how mercantilism is. But nonetheless, I'm done for the night. I hope y'all have a good week. I hope it's a productive over busy week for y'all. I hope you are in a safe place, in a good space, and with good company. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. And heaven knows what this week's gonna look like for news, y'all. Because yeah, we just did something on Yemen, right? And we'll see how that turns out come the end of the month. But anywho, have a good night, y'all. I appreciate the folks who tapped in. Thank y'all a lot. And that's it, y'all. Let me get, where are you? Where is it? All right.